I call to order this regular meeting of the Board of Public Works this Tuesday, July 2nd of 2024. First up on our agenda is messages from board members. Do we have any messages from the board this evening?
Just very quickly, I wanted to convey my appreciation for the street department crews after the massive storms last week and the quick turnaround. It was a great undertaking, and I know all the citizens of Bloomington appreciate it. And with that, also a question for Adam about the brush cleanup that's coming. Could you describe that for people that may be watching at home?
Yeah, I was planning to do all that during staff report,
That's
but
fine.
the city does have a robust plan for cleanup of private vegetation that was due to the storm damage, and I'll go through all that detail during the staff report.
I'll just echo the same message of thanks and appreciation to the Public Works divisions and all the staff.
Yeah, my gratitude is with them as well, and also all of the residents who have been chipping in to help support the cleanup effort, and definitely thinking of all of those who are having to navigate some challenges because of it. So appreciate everything that the city and the residents are doing to recover from that disaster. All right. Next up is appeals. Under appeals, we have appeal notice of violation 62024-05-2516 at 530 South Washington. I don't know if that microphone is on.
Off. Okay. Should be able to hear her better now.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Good afternoon, Inadina Casamanian on behalf of the city. This is regarding 530 South Washington Street, Bloomington, Indiana, 47401. It was appealed on May 10th, 2024. Under facts and discussion, the Bloomington Municipal Code, section 606050, makes it unlawful for the owner of any lot or tract of ground within the city to allow it to become overgrown with weeds, grass, or noxious plants beyond the height of 8 inches, or to such an extent that the growth is detrimental to public health and constitutes a nuisance. Under the code, 606010, weed means any plant or vegetation classified as a detrimental plant, invasive plant, or noxious weed by either the state under authority of Indiana Code 15 entitled Agriculture and Animals, or the United States government in accordance with 7 USC 7701. The term shall also include vegetation listed in section 20.05059 of the Bloomington Municipal Code. Title 20 of the Municipal Code provides a table as to permitted and prohibited plant species. Under Title 20 of the Bloomington Municipal Code, poison ivy is a prohibited plant species. On April 26, 2024, a warning was posted on the door at 530 South Washington Street, Bloomington, Indiana, the door of Mr. Joseph Davis, appellant, describing the violation of Bloomington Municipal Code 606050 as overgrowth. The warning under ticket number 6202-042412 detailed the action necessary to occur in order to bring the property 530 South Washington Street into compliance. The warning stated, "Please mow." On May 3rd, 2024, City of Bloomington Neighborhood and Compliance Officer Rob Council did personally observe overgrown weeds, grass, or noxious plants located at the address of 530 South Washington Street, and he issued a notice of violation. Officer Council took photographs of the condition of the property, which depict the existence of said grass, overgrowth above 8 inches, along with prohibited plant species identified as small patches of poison ivy. Mr. Joe Davis is the owner of the property and shall be considered a responsible party under the Bloomington Municipal Code 6.06.07a. Mr. Davis did timely appeal the notice of violation on May 10th, 2024. Substantial evidence supports the finding that the appeal should be denied, as compliance never occurred and all other issues presented on appeal are lacking in legal foundation. The staff recommendation is that the appeal should be denied because the notice of violation and fines were properly issued, the notice was properly given, and photographic evidence by the inspection officer shows grass on the property has been allowed to grow at or greater than 8 inches, and there are small patches of poison ivy on the property, which is a violation of the code, and Title 20, as poison ivy is a prohibited plant species.
Thank you. All right. We can now hear the appeal. If the appellant would like to make remarks, we have 5 minutes for those remarks. Well, the city offered about 3.5 minutes of remarks, so we're giving 5.
Mr. Davis, your 5 minutes is going to be starting, okay?
We'll start when I'm ready.
That's not how this is going to work, Mr. Davis. Please begin your time.
Okay, let's see the clock, please.
On at 4 minutes and 30 seconds.
5 minutes. Let's.
Yeah, we began when we commenced the hearing.
My name is Joseph Davis. I live at 530 South Washington Street. First off, I ask that this hearing be continued. I have not been able to submit my full evidence for the public and the board to review. I spent the last 2 hours of the day working with Ashley in City Legal to try and figure out how I could upload images to a shared folder that they sent me this afternoon, City Legal did, so that I could share images with the board. I requested on Thursday, when I was submitting materials to the board packet, that April Rosenberger provide me a telephone number in which I could text images. She never responded, nor did many of the items that I asked her to be included in the board packet ever be included, including some of my friends who wrote letters of support. Larry Allen, city attorney, responded to me on that day, and he totally, in place of April Rosenberger, and he put together the package, the board packet materials, and he totally disregarded my request for a number in which I could send images or necessary evidence for my defense. And he did not respond at all whatsoever. So I motion right now that this meeting be continued to the following Board of Public Works meeting, such that I have an adequate opportunity to present all of the evidence, because it states, even in these charge sheets that are in the board packet from City Legal, it says here that an appeal should be denied because the NOV and fines were properly issued, notice properly given, and photographic evidence by the inspection officer shows the grass on the property had been allowed to grow at or greater than 8 inches. And there are small patches of poison ivy on the property. There are 2 things. That's it. He says, grass over 8 inches. My documentation proves there is no grass over 8 inches. He says there are small patches of poison ivy. My documentation proves that there are no small patches of poison ivy. And when you turn here to the proposed order that City Legal prepared, this inflaming proposed order, if you turn to the last page, it says, after reviewing all of the evidence and testimony presented, the Board of Public Works hereby orders as follows. And on the 18th, what they put in there for that proposed order was just a denial. I mean, it was so inflammatory. This didn't even represent the appellant, myself. You know, but in the one that they put in for July 2nd, the proposed order, they thought to actually put in a place where the appeal could be upheld. You know, even though all the language above it is condemning me as an appellant, it gives the opportunity for you to choose to be the protector of the people, the check on the abuses of hand compliance officers who overstep their bounds. I motion that this be continued such that I be able to present all of my evidence, which I have been denied. My civil rights are being denied. This must continue. Or you can make a ruling today and take my word that I had no grass over 8 inches and no pockets of poison ivy. Thank you.
Thank you.
I wish to submit all of the following materials for the record. Now, these are not all of the materials that I wish to submit tonight, but given the time, I have packets. Unfortunately, they're not labeled as exhibits, but it's pretty self-explanatory if one digs through. And this is another reason that we need to continue this to the next hearing, because there is too much information in these packets for you to make a snap decision without considering all of the submitted information. So please add all of these materials to the board record. This is one copy for City Legal, and this is your copy. I'd like for someone to act on the motion that I proposed.
Mr. Davis, you as the appellant don't get to make the motions.
Yes, I do. I am the appellant. City legal in hand are the appellees. This is the adjudicative board. In other words, this is the court.
Mr. Davis, your time is up.
Councils
Mr. Davis, your time is
make
up.
motions for the court.
Okay. Mr. Davis, your time is up. I would like to ask a couple questions of some staff members, please. Your time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Larry, do you want to take questions on behalf of City Legal, or would you like to go to other staff? Is it proper that the appellant cannot make a motion to the board? Correct. In that case, would City Legal in hand just present whether or not they would like this appeal upheld or denied, based on all of the factors?
Based on all of the factors, we would ask that this appeal be upheld, based on the findings and everything that has been supported.
You would ask that the appeal be denied?
The appeal be denied,
Okay.
excuse me.
Thank you.
Do you have any other questions? No. Okay. Questions from the board on this item?
Question for City Legal, please. Hello, evening. During your presentation, you mentioned the term used was compliance never occurred. Is that correct? That as far as the city is concerned, this property is still out of compliance?
The property, as we last saw, was still out of compliance.
Okay. And could you confirm for me the date of the initial notice of violation?
Yes, 1 second. That warning was submitted on
Mr. Davis.
April 27th, 26th or 7th. And then 7 days later on the 5th, or the 3rd of May.
Mr. Davis, could you please?
Actual fine was issued.
Mr. Davis, when the board is asking questions of City Legal, can you please remain away from the podium? Thank you.
Yes, April 26, 2024.
April 26th, thank you. And today is July 2nd, is that correct?
For the warning.
Mr. Davis?
That's all for now, thank you.
Thank you.
The photos, Mr. Davis, this is a question for staff as well, please. Sure, that would be great. Just the photos in the packet, can you verify when those were taken, please?
Hello, I'm John Hewitt for the City of Bloomington Hand Department. The photos that were presented in the packet were taken at the same time as the notice of violation, the original warning on April, I believe, 26th was issued.
Okay.
So there are photos that were taken that very day that were placed in the packet for you to be able to see what the state of the property at that time.
Thank you.
Follow-up question to that. Has anyone checked on the property's compliance as of yesterday or today?
I'm not aware that we checked on the compliance of the property yesterday or today. There was a subsequent ticket issued after the original warning on the 26th, and the property was still not in compliance when we issued a second notice of violation with a $50 fine.
That's the ticket that's in our packet, the May 10th, I believe, with the actual $50 fine.
That's correct.
Compliance at that point.
We wrote another notice of violation because the property had not been brought into compliance at that time.
All right, let's just clarify. So there was a warning issued, there was a notice of violation issued, and there was a second notice of violation issued with a fine. Did both notice of violations have a fine?
The warning is considered a notice of violation. So warning, notice of violation with a $50 fine attached. So the 26th and then May 3rd.
And just also to clarify, the appeal of this is, the appeal here is of the fine itself. Whether or not the property is in compliance today, and please help me if I misstate this, City Legal, it's not about if the property came into compliance today. It was the property out of compliance at the time of the notice of violation? That is what is being appealed here. It's not if, and yes, we'll continue to monitor and things, and the staff will, continue to do their normal rounds and such, but this is actually only about the status of the property on the day of the notice of violation. Is that fair to say? Yeah, thank you.
Other questions on this item?
John, were you on the property on May 3rd?
I was not.
Okay.
The compliance officer
Is he here with us?
is not here today.
Okay.
Not available for this meeting.
Is it safe to say that you review the work of the compliance officers before a notice of violation is issued, or do you coordinate with those compliance officers? And did you also find the pictures to show the property out of compliance?
I have reviewed the photographs and felt that they did depict a property that was out of compliance.
And your role is to supervise the compliance officers, correct?
That is correct. They report to me.
There are several photos in the packet that show different types of vegetation. While I believe that several of them depict vegetation that would be permitted to be over 8 inches in height, there are a couple images that appeared to me to show grass that was overgrown. I think for the purposes of those of us looking at the packet, it was page 28. And then also the specific citation of poison ivy. So it's my interpretation that the notice of violation was issued because of the overgrown grass specifically and the poison ivy.
That's correct.
But other vegetation, in the city, you can have other vegetation that's taller than 8 inches, as long as it's not grass or one of the other noxious or invasive plants that are on the list.
That is correct. The UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance, Title 20 of the Bloomington Municipal Code, provides lists of permissible plants and plants that are not permissible inside the city limits of Bloomington.
It doesn't apply
Mr. Davis.
to existing development.
Mr. Davis.
The UDO is only for new development.
Okay, Mr. Davis, I'm going to ask that you not respond from back there. You're only allowed to respond when you've been asked questions, okay? Thank you.
Then I must be able to rebut every single comment that has been made just now.
Mr. Davis, please allow the board to do what they need to do, please.
Can I ask a question of City Legal, please? The documents that Mr. Davis presented to the board, there are several emails between Mr. Davis and City Legal. Are those?
Today?
Yes. Are those typically included or excluded in the packet that we would receive before the meeting? If they are internal between Mr. Davis and City Legal?
Hi, Larry Allen, City Attorney. In this case, there was quite a bit of evidence that Mr. Davis wanted to present, and so what we wanted to do is be as lenient as possible about what was included in the packet. So ordinarily, those are not things that would typically be included in this type of appeal, particularly because the appeal is a point-in-time appeal, as Mr. Wason pointed out, that this is just about the fine. There are several arguments that we understand that Mr. Davis wanted to raise, which he's still free to do, just so I think, just to be really clear that this isn't where this necessarily stops. Mr. Davis still has remedies in the local court system if he chooses to continue to appeal it for issues such as the unconstitutionality of what we have deemed as proper notice, whether the UDO does properly apply to him, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But given the nature of the fact that he did want to include extra materials, we were trying to be lenient with that so that the board could see those and review those and take them into consideration based on the facts of this particular notice of violation to the extent that they may be pertinent. We trust that the board will give them the appropriate weight that they deserve.
Thank you very much.
Other questions on this item?
Question for probably John Hewitt. The section of the code that mentions, that we're discussing, mentions some other state and federal documents that spell out certain types of plants.
Yes.
Am I correct? Do any of those documents mention things like poison ivy?
To my knowledge, they do. I haven't studied them recently, so that's going on memory, but yes.
So I am disappointed, Mr. Davis, that you chose to approach us with disrespect today, number one. Number two, there was a letter to be included with the board packet that was sent, I think, in an addended packet that was in fact submitted by the appropriate time.
When's the appropriate time? Thursday?
I'm not speaking with you right now, Mr. Davis. Thank you. The appropriate time, it was clearly submitted on Thursday, June 27th, which was a deadline provided for materials to go in the packet. I am uncomfortable that that wasn't included in the original packet. This is no fault for anyone. I suppose I have a question for staff, if there was a reason or if it was just an oversight.
I think we could point to several reasons last week why staff was a little overwhelmed.
Yes.
I can tell you in my inbox on any given day right now, I have 265 unread emails.
Yep.
We asked Mr. Davis to use Mr. Allen in City Legal as his point of contact. Mr. Allen, as the city attorney, was also probably very, very busy these last several days with everything that's been going on in the community. That email was missed, but we also did that. Do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I was just going to say, it was an oversight. Just to be very clear, we know that we received it in the email system. We were working, because things were not actually being sent to me, they were being sent to various email addresses, particularly public.works@bloomington.in.gov. We were relying on a forwarding system, essentially,
Yes.
to make sure we were getting those through. And 100%, that was submitted on time. It was just an oversight that it wasn't included in the original packet. I do apologize that it was included late.
And again, there's no
That's fine.
blame.
Yeah.
I
I
would
just wanna
just
be really
want to
clear.
make sure that we acknowledge that it was in fact received. Last week was certainly a very hairy week in our community.
Yep. And it did, and it is in the official packet as of this time. It did go out in the addended packet, and that information is in there.
Yes, okay, thank you.
Any other questions on this item?
I need to rebut all of those comments that were made.
The time for the appeal is concluded.
This is a violation of my due course of law rights This is a violation of due process. All throughout this process, it's been broken.
Mr. Davis, I will give you 1 minute. Proceed.
Okay, all right. I'll just jump right into this. That federal regulation has no jurisdiction that's listed in there for the city of Bloomington. That's for federal properties or federal agencies that might have invasives on them. It's only concerning federal properties, no private property jurisdiction. Number two, the UDO is only about new development. They list in there one of their citations for authority as UDO 20.05.059. Well, you won't find that anywhere because it's been changed into 20.04.080, and I only found that out because of Mr. Allen. I contacted Planning and Transportation, Eric Grulich, to get that information. Okay, in there, that's only for brand new developments. That does not, anything in there does not apply to existing properties. It's all brand new developments. And then another item is this listing of IC-15. That is that's for regulation of, to guarantee farm agricultural seeds are free of weeds. That has no jurisdiction in the city of Bloomington. That is under animals and agriculture. If you start reading at the beginning of that title, Title 15, you will see that it has no applicability to the city of Bloomington. It is about the creation of weed boards. Monroe County does not have a weed board because we are not a row crop agricultural county.
Mr. Davis, your time is up. Thank you.
And those images,
Mr.
there's
Davis,
no
your time.
timestamp on any of those images. It doesn't say what days they were presented. There are 2 batches of images in there, and they were presented to me on the 18th, the same day that we were supposed to have our previous hearing. And so all 3 of those violations were issued without me being able to have my images to see what is going on.
Mr. Davis, I need you to take a seat.
This is a violation of my rights to due process of law.
Mr. Davis, I need you to take a seat, please. Thank you. Please stay away from the podium at this time.
Is there a motion from the board?
Public comment.
For appeals?
Public comment? No, sorry.
Is there a motion from the board?
Public comment? No.
Not for appeals. We don't do public comment. We will have an opportunity for petitions and remonstrances, and we'd be happy to hear public comment.
I move that we deny the appeal for notice of violation 62024-05-2516, 530 South Washington.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Crone?
Abstain.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard? Aye. Motion passes. Next up is petitions and remonstrances. If anyone would like to make public comment about...
Actually, you have a Title VI abatement on there.
Sorry. Title VI abatement request at 710 North Lincoln, Units A and B.
My name is Joe Stong. I'm one of the compliance officers for Housing and Neighborhood Development. We are requesting permission to enter the property at 710 North Lincoln Street to abate a trash violation. We wrote notices of violation on May 13th, May 23rd, and June 11th. And the trash is still there, so we're asking permission to go to the property and abate that.
Thank you. Questions on this item?
Could you just let us know what communication you've had with the property owner?
Not the owner, but the agent of the property, Parker Management. They have sent us a lease or two for the fines. If they send a lease within 7 days of the notice violation, the responsibility of the fine goes to the tenants. Usually it's not the owners making the mess, it's the kids or tenants. So they've done that and said this is tenants' responsibility. That's really about all. They're aware of it and they've seen the fines, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Joe, I'm not sure if you said this. This is for a one-time abatement. Is that correct?
Yes, one time.
Not continuous?
Yes.
Thank you.
I believe the tenants have moved out, so.
Any other questions on this item? Any public comments on this item? If we have anyone on Zoom who would like to make public comment, you can use the raised hand function or the chat function to let us know.
I have nothing on Zoom.
All right. Mr. Davis, were you wanting to make a public comment about this appeal or this Title VI abatement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. We've got 3 minutes.
Hold a second. Where's the? I need to look at the packet. Get to the packet.
Okay.
What page does it start? Is no one gonna tell me?
I'm
Mr.
trying to find in
Davis.
the packet, I believe it's page 46.
Okay, I'm at 44. Wait.
Mr. Davis, if you'd like to make a comment on this, please begin.
Okay, I would like to know when their warning was issued, and then on what days did they come out and speak with the property owners?
Public comment is not a time for questions. Public comment is a time for comment.
Well, I don't know. I'd have to say that I totally don't trust the information coming from HAND, the compliance department, and city legal obfuscates information that people need in order to defend themselves appropriately. And this property owner, no doubt, has not been notified adequately of how they can remedy the situation, just like I wasn't notified how I could remedy the situation, nor was I given the opportunity to make that remedy. You can't have something that says immediate compliance required. That is illegal. There has to be a period with an end date, a beginning and end date for compliance. Immediate compliance required does not mean anything. It just is, you know, like, what is immediate? Tomorrow? 1 week? 1 month? The people of Bloomington need to have these compliance officers work with them and explain what are the ways in which they can remedy the situation. You just don't slap a violation on there and put all of the onus on the property owner to guess read the mind of the compliance officer. You know, what's going on? Why isn't the city of Bloomington serving its people? Why is the city of Bloomington only serving itself? Who is looking out for us citizens? It's incumbent on you to be the check and balance against the abuses of the powers of discretion that are often taken by compliance officers based on vague ordinances. You know, the Supreme Court in Chevron just reversed the onus and put it on the legislature to tighten up the laws that are written so that there are no vagaries as to how they can be interpreted, so they won't burden administrative agencies like yourself. You know, This is a problem with the Bloomington City Ordinance. It is too vaguely written, and unscrupulous bullies, like some of those in hand, John Hewitt and Rob Council in particular, abuse this.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Your time is up.
For your comments. Any other public comments on this item?
No comments on Zoom.
All right, seeing none on Zoom. Does the board have a motion?
I move that we approve the abatement request at 710 North Lincoln, Units A and B.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard? Aye. Motion passes. Next up is petitions and remonstrances. If anyone has public comment on something that is not on the agenda or no longer on the agenda, now is the opportunity to make comment. If you would like to make a comment on Zoom, you may use the chat or the raised hand function. And public comments will be 3 minutes.
Okay. My name is Jamie Scholl. I have a business, My Edible Eden. I sent an email earlier, and I have some concerns because I'm also new member of BCOS, so I'm trying to figure some of these things out. The photos that were added, I'm not going to set this out too far. This was cited. This is something I sell at the Bloomington Community Farmers Market as well as the Farm Stop. And there were 3 of these plants that were cited, Russian Bach Humphrey. And in the handout I gave you is something I'm working on. It's not complete, so there's no photos. But this is false indigo. These are part of the tree goats. I'm concerned that it was difficult to impossible to find any of these plant lists. I had prepared a statement, but I'm going to have to veer from that. Something that says, please mow, when there are plants like this that are not meant to be mowed. When there are photos included in a packet that we've heard that were stated to be in April, when I know for a fact, since I just came from a landscaping job where the goldenrod in the photo is that size, the date is wrong, period. This is something I do every day, and it's something that I've been working on in urban agriculture and with edible landscapings and forest gardens where it kind of blends the line. And as a new commissioner on BCOS, it's one of the things I wanted to look at is see where in the municipal code is not in alignment with sustainability goals and the climate and sustainability action plans. I see that there are discrepancies, and I'd like to take that into consideration. I could go through and mention environmental goals, especially in one issued this evening, the CAP Goal G1, environmental goal. CAP Goal G1, increase quantity and quality of green space in the community. This one is not started. Complete a land conversion opportunity study, analyze public and private property for unused turf and impervious areas, and create a ground cover conversion implementation plan by census tract to convert identified areas to native grasslands, wetlands, shrub, and forested areas, which is what someone here is trying to do, but with limited financial means. I have been assisting with that. So some of the plants that were listed in the packet were some that I planted with my own hands and provided. There are other goals in the email. I don't know if you've had a chance to see them. CAP Goal G2 to increase quantity and quality of climate adaptive native habitats. And the Food and Agriculture CAP Strategy FA 3-A, increase local food supply. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I'm for the general public comment period.
And this is for items that are not on tonight's agenda.
Correct. Right. My name is Joe Davis. I'm concerned about this request for abatement that was granted tonight because just 2 weeks ago, there was a request for abatement of the Arby's property at 535 South Walnut Street. Hand hardly lifted a finger to notify them fairly and duly of the request for a violation and the fines against their property. There was a warning, notice of violation for trash on the property that was only 2 days old, hadn't even been delivered yet. And Hand already made a request to start abating the property based on that warning that hadn't even been delivered. They sent that all the way to New York City to the owner of the lot. Well, Arby's is a business like many restaurants that hold long-term leases. All they had to do was contact the Ellettsville Arby's, and they could have found out how they could make contact and tell the responsible party how to bring it within compliance. And I know the property is in compliance because I've been bringing it in compliance every day. I am cleaning up shit and piss and vomit and dirty syringes and used feminine napkins and pee catheters and food and rat waste because of the unhoused people leaving all their garbage all over my neighborhood right out my back door at the Arby's. Roderick Page is the operations manager for Turbo. They hold Arby's and other restaurants and all sorts of businesses. He's the one who came and testified before you. He came all the way from Terre Haute. It just so happened he was there on business, but he's out of Texas. Okay, why are you not protecting us citizens? You're just beating up on people who are trying to take care of their properties as they can, where you just let the town run rife with, for example, on my phone is a picture of a prostitute who broke into my backyard yesterday evening and had a John with her. I caught her in her panties and her leotard pulled down, and that was all she was wearing. And there was a guy sitting there getting ready to fuck her.
Mr. Davis.
In my backyard.
Mr. Davis, I'm going to ask that you bring yourself into a little bit of control here. This is not the environment for that. We do not need you speaking like that. Thank you.
Okay, but this is an adult court, is it not?
Mr.
I'm
Davis.
using adult language. These are real facts. Our neighborhood is being abused, and you turn your eyes away. Now, every person who used to poop and
Mr.
piss
Davis,
in
your
that
time
is
is
now
up
pooping
right
and
now.
pissing in other people's yards.
Mr. Davis, your time is up.
We
Thank you
appreciate
very
your
much.
comments. Next up is the consent agenda. Under the consent agenda is Resolution 2024-037, Lotus Fest, Resolution 2024-040, Witch Fest, and approval of payroll. Do we have any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda this evening? All right. Do we have any public comments on items under the consent agenda? Seeing none. Is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve the consent agenda from tonight's meeting of July 2nd, 2024.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard? Aye. Motion passes. Next up is new business. First under new business is noise permit application from City of Bloomington Utilities for nighttime construction work.
Adam Waston on behalf of James Hall with City of Bloomington Utilities. I'm guessing Mr. Hall is busy on a main break or something, but this is a request for nighttime construction work. Sorry, let me get to my profit. And so this is for a sewer pipe repair at 100 South College and 122 South College. So this is a sewer that runs down the middle lane of College between 4th and 5th. And for safety and other public to lessen the impacts on the public, our CBU is asking to do this overnight. And that would take place hopefully as early as next Monday through next Thursday overnight. And they've been working closely on maintenance of traffic plans and other notifications for the area. But this is overall best interest for the community to try to get this work done overnight. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Any public comment on this item?
I see nothing on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve the noise permit application from City of Bloomington Utilities for nighttime construction work.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Crone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next is change order package number 3 for the Hopewell East project.
Good evening, Roy Ayton with the City of Bloomington Engineering Department. This is for our Hopewell project, Hopewell East, which is redevelopment through the RDC of the old hospital site. This project was awarded milestone contractors at the June 21st, 2023 meeting of the Board of Public Works for the amount of $13,373,284.90. The board has approved prior change orders in the amount of $179,224.63 for a current authorized amount of $13,552,509.53. The change order package includes the following change orders that will be in addition to the contract of $142,981.57 for a final construction amount of $13,695,491.10. The 7 change orders that we're asking for approval this evening is change order 15, which is for some undercuts in University Street for an add of $53,800.57. And that was to replace some unsuitable soils that was discovered during construction. Change order 16 for the Centerstone entrance, the existing building there, and that was just how the items were coming together. The new concrete and a little bit of design change had to be done. Change order number 17 was for a culvert demolition in the amount of $19,222, and that was the discovery of a existing culvert on Lot 1 that was demolished as part of the project. Change order 18 was for a center point gas main that was discovered to be shallowed. It was excavated and then recovered, and that was part of the cost for sand purchasing to pack the pipe. Change order 19 and 20 are related, and they are for additional electrical conduits that will service not only the new lots, but also the new park area, and that's to bring power to it. And then the final change order this evening, change order 21, was for a video inspection of the new stormwater sanitary sewer pipes and under drains for the project. And once again, in total, these 7 change orders will add $142,981.57 to the contract.
On this item? Any public comments on this item? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the change order package number 3 for the Hopewell East project.
Second.
All right, I'll call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Thanks. Next is change order number 4 for Adams Street Sidewalk Project.
Jason Kerr, Engineering. This project was Adams Street sidewalk addition along between Kirkwood and Fountain. This change order number 4 comes in for the approaches of 6th and 7th Street leading up to Adams. The approaches had to be wedged and leveled with asphalt to get the proper elevation for crosswalks. Some areas were deep in asphalt mix to get this elevation, leading to an overage of asphalt mix being used. This change order is in the amount of $10,626.20, bringing this total as of this change order to $400,764.46. And is there any questions upon that?
Any questions from the board? Any public comments on this item? All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve change order number 4 for the Adams Street Sidewalk project.
Second.
All right, I'll call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next is the balancing change order for Adams Street Sidewalk Project.
Again, Adams Street Sidewalk. This is the balancing change order. This would be the final change order for this project. Again, the project is complete and it was completed on time. The balancing change order comes to us in an addition of $33,468.81, bringing the grand total of this project to $434,233.27. Any questions upon that?
Any questions on that item? Do we have a motion from the board?
I move that we approve the balancing change order for the Adams Street Sidewalk Project.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Next, we have lane and sidewalk closure request from Lineal Contracting. This is for July 3rd, 2024 through July 24th of 2024.
Hi, it's Alex Gray from engineering. So Lineal Contracting is going to work for AT&T to install some fiber along the West Point neighborhood, which is north of Allen Street in Catalent, and kind of that neighborhood area. They plan on going through between June 24th and July 24th, but engineering had worked with them to get them approval up until this board meeting, and then this would continue and extend the rest of that permit.
Questions on this item? All right, is there a motion from the board?
I move that we approve lane and sidewalk closure requests from Lineal Contracting from July 3rd, 2024 to July 24th, 2024.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up is street and sidewalk closure extension request from AEG.
Hi, it's Alex Gray from engineering again. And I do want to clarify, it's actually not a street closure, so it's not the whole road. It would just be lanes. So I did want to clarify that. I didn't realize it yesterday. But for this one, they want to extend the permit that covers West 17th Street from North College Avenue to I-69 is what they're requesting. And they would like to extend it to July 29th. And this will primarily be fiber pulling and splicing. As they have completed almost all of their underground work, they just have to do more of the restoration is what I've been discussed with them.
Thank you. Questions on this item? Do you have a question?
No.
Okay, sorry. Just want to make sure. Any public comment on this item? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion on this item?
Is it proper to change the title of this to lane and sidewalk closure rather than street and sidewalk closure without changing the resolution? Or should we vote on it as street and sidewalk closure?
I would do lane, please.
Lane? Yeah. Okay. I move that we approve the lane and sidewalk closure extension request from AEG.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. Next up, we have road, lane, alley, and sidewalk closure requests from Reed & Sons at 300 East 4th Street.
Hi, it's Alex Gray. So Reed & Sons is working with Fire Station Number 1 to work on restoration work for the fire station. And as part of that, they are going to need different requests, which is the extensive list that they provided. The first one that I'll start will be the sidewalk closure on East 4th Street. It'll start at Lincoln, go across the fire station property, and stop at the alleyway that goes northeast. No, not northeast. My bad, north and south between Lincoln and I believe that would be Grant. And that one would be from July 8th to July 19th. And then the following after that closure will be the alley closure just south of the fire station. That's the east-west alleyway. That one will be from July 22nd to August 2nd. And that'll be primarily for like concrete work, for the approaches for the fire station. And they are in coordination with the property neighbors near them for that, because they are going to have to utilize some of the parking there too. The next after that will be the lane and the road closure. They're going to happen at the same time, but they shouldn't affect each other too much, because the lane will be on Lincoln, but you'll still be able to go north. And then the road will be just at between Lincoln and I think roughly the alleyways, if I remember the map correctly. And this one will be from August 5th to August 9th.
Questions on this item?
We had talked in the work session about summer festivals. Did you happen to get a chance to check any calendars to see if there are any summer festivals going on 4th Street during that time?
There is nothing in special events that it will be in conflict. So
Great, thank you.
We also mentioned in the work session that the neighboring restaurant, Taste of India, would have access during that time to the parking lot and the restaurant.
The alleyway will be open on that side.
All right, any other questions, comments? Any public comment on this item? Okay. Seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the road, lane, alley, and sidewalk closure request from Reed & Sons at 300 East 4th Street.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Carone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard? Aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Next, we have staff reports and other business.
Folks, Adam Wason, Public Works Director, and I'll just start with some general comments. I appreciated all the board members' initial messages about staff and thanks. Last week on Tuesday was a day unlike we've seen in Bloomington in quite some time. Speaking with our street superintendent, Joe Van Dievender, in his lengthy career in both county highway and city government street department work. Never seen this amount of downed trees with one event. So it's significant, the amount of tree damage citywide. And so first, appreciate the thanks that you offered, but want to also extend my deepest and sincerest gratitude to the hardworking staff, not only across the city and Public Works, but our partners in law enforcement at the fire department, Monroe County Emergency Management, Duke Energy, Indiana University. I could go on and on and on with the amount of coordination with county government and just offer my greatest and sincerest thanks for all of that coordination, all of that effort to respond in a really difficult time. It was the stories of neighbors helping neighbors were not only inspiring and impactful, but it helped with getting the city back up and running, getting the roads back open so emergency services can get to where they need to get. And so just a huge, huge thank you to all of the team members and members of the public and everybody that put forth an effort to respond in a really difficult situation. From there, I want to outline a few things. We attended and this will probably be one of my longer staff reports ever, so just hang in there, folks.
Settle in.
So the Monroe County Emergency Management Agency, in coordination with the Indiana Department of Homeland Security, had all public agencies meeting this morning to discuss the different avenues for disaster declaration, whether or not we'll statewide rise to a level of a full FEMA disaster response, or whether or not we'll need to rely on state disaster relief funds. There's different thresholds there. The estimate for getting full FEMA support in this would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $14 to $15 million of statewide damage associated with this. I have a feeling once you take into account all nonprofit electric utilities and other things, we'll probably get to that number statewide. But right now, the state folks think it's going to be it may be hard to get to that level. We'll see. So we're working very hard to track all of our costs and associated response in association to the response to everything, and that includes the continued response. So, Mr. Roach, James, you asked about the kind of private property cleanup efforts and such, or how the city's going to respond with debris removal. We have contracted, we've done an emergency purchase contract through our procurement policies that allow the city controller and the mayor to authorize special procurements outside of our normal contracting process in emergency situations. And so we've utilized that to enter into a contract with Williams Tree Company out of Martinsville. They're a large outfit that has done FEMA response in the past and had staff ready to go. We're also in communication with some other local firms as they free up from some of their work on private property to also assist with cleanup efforts. As of next Monday, July 8th, Williams Tree Company will be in Bloomington mobilizing based on the data we're collecting through our U-Report system on locations that have notified us that they will have debris by the curb. Beyond that, one thing that is very important for the public to know that if you sustained private property damage to your home, to your roof, to your business, making sure to report that through the state's 211 system. That helps to, that allows the state to, how do I say this? Calculate or, bring all of those claims or those different properties with damage into a centralized system to then determine if the amount of property damage rises to different levels where support then could be offered to private property owners. And so making sure folks report that through the 211 system is very, very important. Beyond that, we are also going to be opening up, starting this Saturday, a vegetation drop-off site for residents that want to drop off debris from the storm damage. Again, this is limited to storm vegetation from storm damage, so branches, tree trunks, et cetera, to a location on Lower Cascades Drive that is just to the kind of northeast of the ball field. So after you go past Club, if you're on Lower Cascades Drive and you're in the beautiful park-like area, you pass the playground, you go through the stop signs, and on the left after a little bit are some baseball fields. There's a large parking lot that will be opening up there for private residences to drop off debris. That location is not intended for large landscape companies, et cetera. They have their own disposal options, but for private residences and residents of the community that would prefer a drop-off location. So we'll staff that up beginning Saturday morning at 9 a.m., working very closely with our partners at Bluestone Tree Service. Shout out to them. We have contracts with them for what's called tub grinding, and so they're working very closely with us. As debris comes to that location, we'll be grinding and being able to get it into smaller, more manageable piles that then can be hauled as necessary. So all this to say, we've been busy. We've been very, very busy, and we have just cannot give the whole team across the whole city and the county enough shout outs for just the professionalization and the professionalism that's been shown to get all of these different things up and running very quickly. We could have started with the private property cleanup this week or, on Monday. We chose to take an extra week, give folks the holiday week to get things to the curb. And that's going to be, we plan to do that for a full 2 weeks. With the U-Report system and reporting addresses where you have debris pickup, that's really going to help us to be as efficient as possible. So the U-Report system will have the exact address and the latitude, longitude, and we will then from there be able to extract that data into hotspots. So we'll be prioritizing where we begin based on the higher volume of addresses in a centralized area. It's looking like we'll probably start in the near west side based on what we've gotten so far. Again, just big thank yous to all of the teams, and big thank you goes out to the community for their resilience throughout this. And we're going to continue to do everything we can to lessen the impact and and get the city cleaned up. So happy to answer any questions too. I know there's a lot of questions probably.
Yeah, Adam, I have one question for you about the 211 call. Do property owners need a estimate of the value or the cost of
Right now, I think it's
damage?
just getting registered into the 211 system, and then I believe you get follow-up emails, information on how to submit claims and costs and things like that.
Is that 211 system collecting information about things that were damaged because of the long-term power outage, like food spoilage, or simply home and tree damage?
I believe the 211 system is more about property damage and such to both residents and businesses. The United Way has a very good resource page, as do a lot of the township trustee offices, about how a resident who receives SNAP benefits can seek reimbursement for food loss.
Great.
The big key there is pictures. They need to, but the United Way and township offices or Housing Authority, others would have information on how to really go through that process. But I've seen in United Way Facebook posts and other information pushed out about that SNAP benefit process.
Okay, that's very helpful. I do have one more question.
Please.
If a resident does not submit a U report for debris pickup, but debris pickup is happening in their neighborhood and they leave things out, will they be
Yes,
picked up?
so what we're asking is that residents get, I'm using air quotes for those in, that it be manageable. But we also recognize that there's going to be tree trunks and things that are going to be bigger. And so in talking with Williams Tree Service and our tree company and the other tree services that we're hopeful to contract with locally, what the process will be is, so let me answer your first question. If you don't submit it via U-report and your neighbor on both sides of the street did, and you have a small pile or a pile near the street, they are going to pick that up as normal course of business as they go through the neighborhood.
Okay.
To the other point, though, the way it'll work is they'll come through first with their chipping machinery so that they can get the branches and all of that stuff that is of a small enough size to go through a chipper. And these aren't just your, Lowe's bought chippers. These are industrial grade, big, powerful chippers that they'll take some pretty big logs. But we also have some very old and big trees down throughout the city. So the chippers will come through, get all the smaller vegetation, and then as they've got a really good system in place of communication on, hey, 301 South Smith, we got all of the small vegetative debris. There's 6 logs that need the grapple loader and hauling truck to come get those. So it'll be both. I know there was some information that went out very early that it said things like 4 foot. We're not concerned with that. If you have a large tree trunk that you've been able to get somewhere close to the front of your property, we're gonna try to work with you. We are limited in our ability to go on private property. We can't go to a side yard or a backyard and haul out. It's only from right adjacent to the right-of-way. There were questions like, well, what if we get it right near our driveway? Yes, we're gonna work with you to get it, but it needs to be easily accessible from the roadway, from the right-of-way, and such.
Okay. I'm sorry, I have one more question.
No, hey.
Do the removal companies have a preference if residents leave branches and tree debris in yard waste bags or plastic tubs?
No bag. If you want it picked up through the normal yard waste program through sanitation, yes, continuing to use your yard waste containers or the ones purchased through sanitation, that'll get picked up as part of our sanitation services. For the contracted service that we're going to be using, nothing bagged. It all needs to be just branches and logs that are not bagged. But we also will continue to run our normal sanitation yard waste routes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Great. Thanks for that information. That's good. All right, next is approval of claims. Are there any questions from the board?
Oh,
on
and
claims?
just in that regard, real quick.
Yeah,
we
sure.
will be coming back with these emergency purchase
Right.
contracts and such. I did want to make sure, so I think I mentioned the not to exceed with Williams Tree Companies at $150,000 right now. with our emergency purchase justification. We'll be coming back in 2 weeks with probably addendums, things like that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thanks. All right, any questions from the board on claims?
None.
Okay. Any public comment on claims? I have no comment. All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve claims tonight in the amount of $1,178,022.98.
Second.
All right, I will call the roll. Corone?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Cox-Deckard, aye. Motion passes. And seeing that there's nothing else on the agenda, I will call for adjournment.